Why do they use empathy? Because they know the majority of good people, or the majority of Americans, are good people. And when you're busy defending yourself, you're not focused on their atrocities. That's why they use it. You'll notice that every time you push back on anything, whether it's mentally ill men in women's bathrooms, refusing to acknowledge that a man can get pregnant, using the ridiculous pronouns, illegal aliens, one of the go-to emotional blackmail words that those who hate America uses a lot is empathy. Now, that scam has come to an end because you saw Team Empathy in action celebrating the assassination of an objectively and legitimately good man. You saw what they mean by empathy. You saw their empathy over the last 2.5 weeks. But there's still a lot of people who fall for that, and you fall for it because you are good. So let me just start off there. You fall for the empathy, emotional blackmail because you are good. You are in your soul, you're good. So when someone says you have no empathy, that you're a racist, a bigot, whatever, your natural inclination is to defend yourself. And that's a mistake. So I'm going to introduce you to a concept called language contamination. So if you go over to courageisahabit.org, again, you can either hit courageisahabit.org, or if you're watching from your laptop, you can hit this QR code right over here. So you come down here, there's the button right there, language contamination. Okay, so here is what language contamination is. Okay, language contamination is they use your vocabulary, but not your dictionary. Language is a very important, it's the most important thing in a society and in a culture. Because if you don't have a shared language, you simply don't have a country and you don't have a healthy society. This is why our enemies, those who are celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk, those who hate America, those who want to brainwash your children, the first thing they go after is language. So what we like to show, what we like to introduce to help you defend against this manipulation is called language contamination. They use your vocabulary, but not your dictionary. And this goes for so many words. It goes for all the words that a normal, healthy person would agree to: neglect, mental health, abuse, affirm, kindness, suicide, inclusion, empathy, healthcare, safe. Those are words that good-hearted, good faith people will have a very close definition. So let's take empathy, for example. Okay. To you, empathy would be something like this. You would teach your child, well, don't take someone's toys. Don't hit somebody because you want their toys. How would you like it if someone hit you? Don't say that to somebody because that could hurt their feelings. How would you like it if someone said that to you? So because these are ingrained in good parenting, they use these words because 99.999% of parents would not object to it if the school says, I'm just teaching your child empathy. But because they use your vocabulary and not your dictionary, what they mean is they teach your daughters from kindergarten on, because they introduce nonsense like marginalized people and those type of things. And they brainwash your daughters so that when they're 16, 17, 18, and beyond, that when a mentally ill man walks into her locker room, shower, bathroom, spa, locker room, that she has to have empathy for him. How would you like it if someone kicked you out of your bathroom and locker room? So you see how twisted that is. Because obviously, especially if you have a daughter, especially if you're a father, that's the last thing you want your daughters to feel is empathy. You want them to be on defense and you want them to be on offense. You want them to be aggressive when a man tries to invade her personal space. Empathy and kindness is the last thing you want her to exercise. You want that to shut down, but the schools will manipulate their values, and they will manipulate their natural inclination to defend themselves, and they will shut that down. And we'll talk about this in other videos, and that part is called the amygdala in the brain. So here is how we explain how they define empathy. Again, they use your vocabulary, but not your dictionary. Empathy for them, for those who hate America, those who hate parental rights, is a virtue weaponized by dishonest cowards to manipulate good people into lowering their boundaries and accepting actions or policies that harm their families and communities. And you can apply that to obviously the transgender cult, open borders, illegal aliens, BLM, the endless racism, endless white guilt, endless white shame. So empathy is a very powerful tool used by very dishonest cowards so that you don't look too closely at their atrocities. So here is instead how I would like you to start thinking about empathy. Now, is this 100%? No, but if you think of empathy this way, you'll be pretty good about not being manipulated. Empathy should be a virtue that you reserve for those you love and for those who love you back. Very simple. Empathy should be very precious. You shouldn't be giving it out willy-nilly. Empathy should be very valuable, and you should treat it as such. So empathy should be reserved for people that you love and for those who love you back. And another word for that is simply just drawing strong boundaries. That's it.